Hi, I'm Neil Greger from Mastergen. I'd like to chat today about some of the services that we offer from Mastergen. These services are aimed at utilizing our genetics to its absolute full potential. I'll be chatting about the herd genetic reports especially, and then our mating program. On page 3 of our catalogue, we have a list of services that we provide. The RZG heifer testing is basically our genomic testing. Herd genetic reports is a subject that I'll be going into in more depth, as well as our Mastergen mating service, which is our mating program, and I'll be discussing this in more detail. Basically, we provide on-farm service scoring services, pedigree mating, herd genetic reports, and genomic testing. Genomic testing part is great because that just gives me more reliability with the figures that I use. To start with, I'd like to discuss the herd genetic reports that we offer. Basically, I always think of this as looking at the herd with a new set of eyes. I obtain this information that I use from your national milk records or the cattle information services. All of this information is supplied by the AHDB. Basically, it's all the information that we put together from milk recording over the years so that it's put into a list that we can actually analyze, and then we can look to see which are the better cows in the herd, what's the direction that the herd has been going in genetically, and where we can actually improve, and what we already have as strengths. Obviously, this is becoming more and more important as years go by. We need to be breeding from our best cows with sex semen that have got high fertility, good production, good health traits, and everything is correct about them. With the new trends of not being able to remove bull calves and the problems that we're having, we need to actually only be breeding from our best heifers so that we are raising the best heifers that have the highest fertility, good health traits, do not need huge amounts of antibiotics. This is what we will be striving for. So with that in mind, I'd like to discuss what the herd genetic reports look like. The first slide, we've got number of animals. This just gives me a little bit of an idea of the breakdown of the herd, of how many animals are heifers, how many first lactations, second lactations, etc. The second slide is on the PLI. This is just an example of a herd with PLI being the subject. You can actually do it on most of the other traits as well, but I thought I'd just concentrate firstly on PLI. You can see that the zero lactations, which is obviously the heifers, average is 307. First lactation 167, second lactation 99, third lactation 76. So what this has actually shown me is that from his first lactation to his second lactations, his PLI has doubled in value, as well as from his second lactation to his first has also doubled. So we can actually see a trend that his PLI has improved dramatically over the years. Obviously, this is a very good thing and a very positive aspect. When you look at the next slide, the inbreeding percentage, you can see in fourth lactation he starts at 3.6 and steadily moves up to 5.1. So obviously I would like to stop this upward trend, so it would probably be the best idea to use a mating program to bring down the inbreeding percentage, or at least manage it and keep it where it is. We'll discuss more about inbreeding when we get to the mating program. The milk kilograms is also just an example of a herd genetic report where you can actually see what the milk production has done over the lactations. In this scenario, milk production is low, but in first lactation it goes up considerably, but then comes back down in heifers. So we can imagine that there was a specific group of bulls that were used that improved the milk production, which is where the first lactations are, but then it came back down with the next group of bulls for the heifers. On the butterfat kilograms, you can see the same trend. The zero lactations or the heifers are lower than the first lactation. Butterfat and protein percentage, exactly the same. So it's quite easy to figure out that we need to improve production in this herd, and we need to find bulls that will actually improve it. What I then do is I make a comparison between the top 75% of cows and the lower 25% of cows in the herd. Basically, obviously, onto the 25% that are low, we'll be going straight to beef. And on the 75% of the cows, the better end of the cows will be using sex semen. Obviously, this percentage can differ according to your system. It might be higher than 75%, it might be lower than 75%. But the concept is that I work this out using herd companions' completed lactations, and I also use AHDB's genetic merits for every single trait. And then I take a look at them and I make sure that the physical data from herd companions' completed lactation marries up with the genetics, so that I can be sure that when I'm selecting cows that we should be putting to beef, they are the correct cows that are going to beef, and that the cows that are going to be inseminated with sex semen are the cows that we're hoping to breed heifers with and make the foundation of the herd out of. The higher priority I give is to health traits, for instance, somatic cell score and fertility index. But the other traits are also taken into account. Obviously, production would be very important. So I do look at the whole picture, not just at specific traits. After I've done this, I just like checking my homework. And what I do is that I've measured the milk kilogram, the average of the low group, the average of the top group, and this would be obviously on every trait. I've just given a few examples. But in this case, milk production, the lower group is lower, the top group is higher, so genetically speaking, that is correct. Then I took the same and I looked at their 305-day milk kilograms, and I got the same trend. The low group was lower and the top group was higher. So at least I know that from a production point of view, I am going in the correct direction. Butter, fat, and protein, the lower group was much lower on the kilograms butter fat and kilograms protein, and the top group was higher. On the butter, fat, and protein percentage, you'll see that the lower group was higher than the top group, as well as with the protein percentage. Obviously, this is because of the higher milk production of the top group, so that did not concern me ultimately. Fertility index, well, we know that into the future where we will be needing to get more heifer calves out of the cows that we want to, and we would like beef calves out of the ones that we don't. We just have to improve our fertility index. It doesn't really help to use sex semen on the whole herd and get the same conceptions as if we'd only inseminated the higher fertile cows. So to start with sex semen, I like to identify the cows that have got high fertility so that I'm getting maximum value from my sex semen. And you can see this, the fertility index for the lower group is much lower than for the higher group. In the calving interval, it followed suit. The low group was higher into calving period and the top group was lower into calving period. So milk production, butter, fat, and protein, fertility index, and calving interval is better for those 75% of the cows that I identified. Then somatic cell score, we found the same trend. Somatic cell score was on the low group was high, on the top group was low, and this is obviously the parent averages. NMR average SCC basically measured by the NMR, and this is done on individual cows, and I took the average of these, and you can see that the low group was much higher than the top group. So again, this is married up very well. It also married up to the mastitis. So far, the cows that I've identified in those bottom 25% should actually be inseminated with beef semen from the start, and the other 75% must be inseminated with a sex semen. The one caution and advice that I do give on this is that it is vitally important to manage and to measure your pregnancies so that we know how many cows are in calf at any stage to sex semen, so that I know exactly how many calves I will have into the future, so that we don't end up running out of heifers one day due to maybe something going wrong with fertility. So that's just vitally important. It also makes it a lot easier to use better beef bulls because we know exactly where we're going to be using the beef. We know which cows we want to, so we can go with beef bulls where the conceptions might be the best, and also with bulls that will actually give us the slight edge in market. After that, we can actually chat now about the Mastergen mating service. Mastergen mating service is divided into sort of two sectors, which are standalone sectors. One is based on the type and on what linear classification tells us and where we should be going. And it's basically there to get the right bull on the right cow to produce the best heifer possible in a more scientific way. The second part of the mating program is the inbreeding side, which I'll discuss later. So type traits are very important. We do want to be trying to achieve more uniformity. We want a specific type of cow for our specific systems, for our farms, for what we want. And if we score the cows and we look at the cows and we then match up the bulls to them, we will achieve this easier. Basically, this is just a little bit of a joke slide. It's not the bull, it's not the cow, and that's not the daughter of the two of them. But I just put it together to give an indication. You take the bull, you use it on the cow so that you can achieve the beautiful cow we see in the third place. And basically what we're trying to say is that we'd like to identify what the biggest faults are in the herd so that we can select sires that will improve them. Or individually on the cow, like in this case, you could say we want you to bring the pins down because she's got slightly higher pins or high in the tail setting. We want to bring the front teeth placement in. So we would then look for a bull that would basically do this. And the mating program will help you to achieve these goals. So we can actually set goals on where we want to be, what kind of cow we're trying to breed, and then we can let the mating program put the right bull on the right cow. The one thing that we have found is that there's been a lot of relation between final score, completed lactation, and lifetime milk production. And Canadian Breed Society put this together in 2015. And you can see that the total number of lactations for a cow scoring 60 to 64 is 1.7 lactations, so that's pretty low. And a cow scoring 80 to 84, which is sort of a pretty good score, is 3.1. So that's almost double the lactations. So it is vitally important to be breeding functional cows. And to breed functional cows, well, we'll have to look at them, we have to score them, we have to understand where we're going with the herd then. Correlations that are coming through between linear classification of type and the health traits, for an example, digital dermatitis, are coming through quite strongly. We do understand that there are correlations and that type and health traits are correlated, and we need to still be looking at the cow and understanding what we should be fixing and what has gone wrong. The next point, of course, is inbreeding. We know that press has put a fair amount out on the fact that in America there's only 2 bloodlines in the whole of the Holstein breed that's come through over the years. And we know that our bloodlines of the best bulls are very, very narrow. So obviously we need to do as much as we can to improve this and to manage it and make sure that we don't carry on inbreeding, or that at least we can actually try and bring it down. A mating program helps us because it is a minefield out there. With the genomic bulls coming through so fast and furiously, it's difficult to keep track. And unfortunately, the genomics tested bulls have not really brought down inbreeding. It's actually just opened it up more. So we are finding inbreeding has increased over the years. You can see from this graph that we're sort of like in 2019 at about 8%. If we had to take it at 4.5 as being an acceptable inbreeding percentage, then we're a lot higher than where we should be. Even if you take it 6.25, it's still a lot higher. So this is something that really needs to be managed and really needs to be helped. If you're interested in our services, you can contact me, Neil Greger, or Amy Hamlet at any time, and we can set up an appointment, or you can speak to your genetic consultant and they can help you to get in touch with us so that we can move forward. Thank you very much for your attention. Goodbye.